Hey everybody, Zee Garcia here, and today we are going to be trying to escape an active volcano and claim the islands nearby in Polynesia. Polynesia here has quite the busy, beautiful cover, but the gameplay is very simple. It's a very subtle game in which you are taking just a few actions, very simple actions, in order to, again, move away from this volcano that will, at some indeterminate point, explode and take out any characters that are remaining on that volcanic island. So you are trying to explore farther out, claim victory points along the way, utilize a couple of special abilities in order to get a leg up on your opponents, and ultimately, of course, win the game. That's what's going on in it. The game has a couple of resources you'll be managing in order to explore. You'll be claiming routes with your little wooden ships, and then you will be moving your characters. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this game operates. I'll show you on the table. We'll come on back. I'll give you some final thoughts. In the game, your objective is to get your people off of this volcanic island and onto all of these islands out here, and of course have the most victory points when the end game is triggered. You are going to get victory points from these tokens. That symbol there is always a victory point. You might get some of these victory point tokens as well. You're going to get victory points from clearing your little characters off of your player board and getting them onto the game. And you are going to get victory points from these cards right here. There will be one from each stack, a 1, a 2, and a 3. And they have in-game rules as well as end-game scoring abilities. So whoever has the most points, of course, is going to be the winner of the game. So the general flow of the game is decided by this track up here. So let me scoot this down and show you what that looks like, okay? Whoever the start player is, they have a start player token. They're going to be moving this along with all of the players acting in these first 3 phases, and the rest of these are mostly upkeep phases. Now, this side of the map is for 2 or 3 players. The other side is for 4 players. So let me explain to you what this all means. During these first 3 circles, the players are going to take actions. And some of the actions have varying strength, denoted by this. So if you take an action that is one of those varying strength actions, if you take it right here, you have a strength of 3 towards that. Say moving characters, you can move 3 steps. If you do it here, you get to move 1 step, 1 character, 1 step, all right? So let's take a look at those actions right here on this board. So the first one is exploring, which is putting out these ships so that you can jump from one island to the next one and so on. There's 2 things you can do there. A new route, you can claim a new one. It can be anywhere. You don't have to be connected to it. So, you can have the pink player choose to claim this route way out here. You're allowed to do that. To do so, you are going to pay either fish or seashells, the 2 resources in the game. I don't know if you can see the seashells here, but there they are. There's the seashells and the fish. And you are going to pay X in that symbol, which means if you do it right here, you pay 3. And then you put one next to the ship to denote that it is that route is now locked in as fish if anybody else wants to claim one, okay? And then you put your ship there. The other option with exploring is you can go put your ship onto an existing route, such as this one right here. You can only ever have each route once, but you can go where somebody else is. If you do that, then you have to pay the people who are already there. You can travel, and you have, again, X movement points where you move around on the board. It's possible, if you have your own ship there, you can just move. That's 1 step. If not, you can take a guide with you. And what that means is, if purple wants to move 1 step, then they can do so by taking the pink player with them as a guide, because pink owns this route, and they can go to this one. But you take them along with you, all right? Then you can populate, which is you can put 3 characters on the volcanic island from your board. And again, I'll explain this. You begin with 5 already on the volcano at the beginning of the game, and the rest of these all have a character standing on them, like that. Okay, so if you choose to take 3 and put them on the volcano, then you would take 1, 2, 3. It would be that one filled and the rest of them. And now the highest revealed number is a 3. That's victory points, all right? Or you can take a single one from here and put it on an island where you already have at least 1 character. So those are your 2 options for populating. You want to remove these because you get more victory points. Then after that, you've got fishing, which is collecting resources, and that is you get X, meaning 3, 2, or 1, fish or seashells. All right, so we do that, taking an action each, then another action each, then another one. And then we go to this volcano phase. During the volcano phase, we are going to pull a token from this bag. The start player will pull one. This is the clock in the game. If you pull out a gray, nothing happens. If you pull out a red, you set it aside. 6 reds will trigger the end of the game. And if you put out a black cube, then you pull out 2 more. So gray is nothing. You pull out a black cube, you pull out 2 more, and that quickens the game, all right? So you're never quite sure when the game is going to end, and this is a great way to keep that hidden, to have that tension of, do I get 1 more turn? Do I get 2? How much do I want to do here? Do I sacrifice a bunch on this first action, even though it might be costly? Do I use it for movement instead, because it's a lot of movement? Things like that, all right? After that, then we are going to move to this one where the start player decides which of these 2 kinds of things, fish or seashells, are eliminated from every player's supply. Not a very thematic action, doesn't make any sense. But everybody will, if you say fish, everybody gets rid of all their fish. Then we go to this one where everybody gets income. And you are going to get income from the places that you populate. So the islands will have fish on them or seashells. You'll get those things. And then we go to this one where you pass the start player marker to the next player. And then we go to the beginning again for another round. You'll see some islands have tokens. If you claim those, being the first one there, then you are going to claim that token. If you are someone who gets there by following somebody else's route and taking them along as a guide, you're still the one who gets the token, all right? Because it's your turn. So even if you did this, and there was a token there, it's purple using pink as a guide, it's purple's turn. They're the ones who get the token. So that's basically it. The only thing I have not shown you is these cards. And there will be, like I said, randomly one of each kind face up. And they changed the rules somehow and the scoring. So, for example, this one right here, they have 1.1 through 1.4. 1.3 says, each player gains 1 point for each archipelago where their tribe is present on one of its islands. What's an archipelago? It is these 2 associated islands surrounded by this darker blue line. There's one here, there's one there, one there, one there. All right? So this is going to get 1 point for each archipelago where their tribe is present on one of its islands. If their tribe is present on all the archipelagos, you gain 5 points. All right, so scoring. For 2, same thing, they are numbered. This is 2.1. As soon as the player gets a mask, and these are the masks right here, some islands have them, they must immediately choose a resource type and whether to take 2 resources of that type for themselves, or alternatively, make all other players lose 2 resources of that type. Okay. And then lastly here in the pile of 3s, we might have, for example, 3.1, which is this one. And this one says, each time or every time a player travels on another player's route, they both gain 1 point. This applies until the tokens run out. This one says also, don't use this in a 2-player game. The 2-player rules, by the way, eliminate some of these things I just explained and get rid of the whole having a route where somebody else has one. You have to, if somebody claims it, you no longer can go on that one. The only way to get across it now is to use them as a guide. And they'll probably move along, not allowing you to do that. Maybe. Or maybe they do want you to do it. Let's take a look at one more here. 3.4. Each island with the victory point symbol, or 2 victory point symbol, which is pre-printed on some of these. Okay, this one, that one. This one down there has 2 printed on it. So each one of those provides additional victory points to players that have the most tribes on it. The player with the majority gains 3 points. Second place gains 2 points. So that creates a new rule that has an area majority implication that is not normally in the game. Now, at the end of the game, the people on the volcanic island, and I believe these 3 as well, are eliminated. They go back onto your player board. So they might, boop, 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 cover up a few more spots here, and then you score. You get points showing on here. Like I said, tokens, these, islands, and whatever you get based on these cards. And then whoever has the most victory points is the winner of the game. And that is Polynesia. So there you go. This is quite a beautiful cover, very tranquil, very inviting, and the game is interesting. if not exactly an exciting one. I think this is a pleasant game. I think it might appeal to folks that want something that isn't too mean but still has player interaction, something that isn't too complicated but still allows you to think tactically. It's a perfect Pierre Sylvester game. But what I mean by that is if you know the designer and the kinds of games that he tends to design, they are largely very subtle games, okay? They are games that you will win or lose by very minute, clean moments. You might not like that. You might like your game to be bombastic. You might like your game to be very obvious about the moment where you made a fantastic move and won. I don't think you're going to get that in this one, okay? So be aware of that before you decide to jump in. Let me tell you what I think of it, because I think it's an interesting game. It's one that I don't, again, find... I don't feel like it's going to keep coming back to the table. It's the kind of game that I feel isn't going to be... might not energize a game evening, but that's just my opinion, of course. You might feel very differently about it. So let's take it from the top. The theme. I think the theme is lovely. It's a lovely setting, okay? And there are some thematic rules, but there are just as many that feel mechanically inspired and motivated. And the game does feel, in many ways, very abstract. And again, that's kind of a Pierre Sylvester feel, vibe. Games that have a cool setting, but they don't really put you in that world in a really graspable way, okay? So, I'm of two minds about this one a little bit. I think it's a lovely setting, again, and I think the game board, the pieces, everything are very pretty, but it feels abstracted quite a bit, more than perhaps I would like. And the mechanisms don't do anything to alleviate that. The aesthetics are for the most part good. Game board is lovely, cover is gorgeous. I think the wooden pieces are a little on the bright side. They do clash a little bit with the deep greens of the board. Perhaps that's on purpose so that they really pop. I think the cardboard tokens are weak in this game. I think these tokens are very thin. They don't feel as robust as some of the other pieces. The little fish are quite tiny. These wooden pieces, they have to go on the board is partly why. You have to lock them into roots. And so my main issue is that the little cardboard pieces and then the little wooden cubes are quite tiny, and again don't really add a lot of flavor or feel to the whole thing. So aesthetics are somewhere in the middle for me. Replay value. The game feels very lacking at 2 players, to the point that I would definitely not recommend the game for 2. If you are someone who plays primarily at 2 players, you're considering this game, I would say no, skip it for that. It no longer feels like quite the same game. They are robbing you in order to make this game work at 2 of several of the intricacies in the rules. Several of the choices do go away for 2 players. So I wouldn't do that. For 4, I think 4 is the best number, and 3 is fine. For 2, I would pass. So there is that. The cards are nice. They add some... They're quite a large part. And that's funny because it's 3 cards face up. But they are a large part of the game. And depending on which 3 are face up, it will allow the game to feel different from the last time you played. So I think that replayability is good, that aspect of it. Now, the game arc is solid. I really do enjoy it. I think the game starts nice and slow. It's methodical. It will feel largely methodical throughout. But there are some nice... there's some nice endgame tension because of that cube pulling mechanism. I think it works well. I think it's a nice way to have unpredictability denote the end of the game. You don't know when this volcano will erupt. Having the black cubes in there, when you pull one of those, you pull out 2 more. Could even take you from having 4 red cubes, and you're thinking, okay, well, I have at least 2 more turns, to having no more turns. If you pull out a black one, and then 2 red. Boom. So I do like that. I think it adds a nice amount of tension. You cannot waste actions in this game. There simply aren't that many. And you need to be mindful of where you are in the arc of the game and utilize what you know and what you want to achieve accordingly. The ease of play is very good. The player aids here are lovely. They also have Spanish on the back, by the way, and there is a whole set of cards in Spanish in this game, as well as a Spanish rulebook. So there you go. You can play this in English or Spanish right out of the box. But the player aids are very nice. These player boards are fine. You can keep your ships on here, they say, your extra characters, your resources if you want to. The cardboard on these pieces is a little bit better than the actual tokens you use in the game. Like these are definitely a little bit... They're actually maybe not even thinner, but they're so small they feel kind of flimsy, and this feels like a nice slab. So this is okay. And it's pretty. Again, it kind of gives you a focal point for your own area in front of you. So I think those are fine. And so, yeah, the player aids, reference material, and the general rules flow is very simple. This is a game you can get to the table easily from a rules point of view. Largely tactics, luck, strategy. Much like the designer's other games, it is very, very subtle. It's you have to like that kind of game. You have to like a game that you win or lose by a peck instead of a slash or a shot to the face, okay? So, and it's also a game that has really no luck outside of setup. After you've set this game up, there will be no luck. It's all on the table. It's all about deciding when you do what. And the mechanism of a 3 strength action, then a 2, then a 1 is brilliant. I think that's a big, big part of what makes this game neat. Knowing, do I use the 3 for movement? If I move first and somebody else takes a route I really wanted, I'm going to have to pay them for it later. Or I'll have to take them along with me. But then I get to move 3, right? Or do I do one of the things that is not, if you want to do one of the things that is not tied to strength and you do it on the 3, man, you're wasting a big juicy moment to do that. But you might want to do that earlier. So I think that's really good. Overall, I think this is a nicely put together game. It's minimalistic in many ways. I think a lot of people will appreciate that. It's attractive. It's engaging in a but it's just not whiz-bang. It's just not a game that I'm ever at the table like, whoo-hoo. It's pleasant, and it is extremely competent and well put together. It's just not one I'm going to keep bringing to the table because I want a little more spark in my games. Not a cerebral one, which I think this provides, but one that is more visceral than that. And so this, for me, is going to get a 6 out of 10. I definitely recommend it if you are someone who feels you fall into that camp. That style of game. I think you will enjoy this. It's lovingly put together. It's just not one that because there are too many abstract games and sort of give me the same vibe, it's not one that then brings me that excitement I was hoping for. But definitely not hating on it. I think it is one I definitely, like I said, recommend if it's talking to you. So there you go. That is Polynesia. And plus, look at that gorgeous cover. You just put this on a shelf. You're gonna get some comments on this. It's beautiful. All right, everybody. My name is Zee Garcia. Thank you for checking this out. I'll see you on the next one.